Last year, when I stood before you, I spoke of a grave dilemma. The state had a structural deficit of more than $4 billion. The public ledger demanded restraint. Our needs as a Commonwealth demanded action. We accomplished much of real consequence. For the first time in 40 years, we spent less. Our state budget was passed on time for the first time in almost a decade. We imposed no new taxes on our citizens. The reason was plain. State government has less revenue because our citizens have less for themselves. We can't ask people to travel the road to recovery and then turn around and add to the burden they must carry along the way. To prevent cost reductions at the state level from being turned into new taxes at the local level, we enacted property tax reform. Tort reform brought relief to job creators who feared entering a marketplace where they could be forced to pay for damages that were not rightly theirs. I asked you last year to send me tort reform, and I said I would sign it. You sent it. I signed it. Thank you. Early today, we passed legislation creating new Keystone Opportunity Zones, KOZs as they are often called. They offer incentives and development assistance to businesses. They have the potential to bring thousands of jobs to Pennsylvania. This sends a strong message that Pennsylvania is open for business, and I thank you very much. And I would note, I've had to amend what you already have in your hands at this point. After long negotiations, we are close to reaching a consensus on how to address the impacts of the Marcellus Shale region. Just prior to coming over here, I watched as the Senate passed the Marcellus legislation. I thank you. I thank you, and I urge the members of the House to take this bill up, to resolve this as quickly as possible, and pass this legislation. Thank you very much. I'm submitting to you a budget proposal that is at once lean and demanding. In the coming weeks, we will sit down to work out the final details as we map out our course. But this map does come with boundaries. We will not spend more than we have. We will not. We will not raise taxes. There is no talking around these limits. Every dollar taken in tax is one less dollar in the hands of a job holder or a job creator. Every dollar spent by government is $1 less in the sector that creates real prosperity. I'm bringing before you a budget built on the decisions of last year. It is a budget that proposes more in the way of reforms by continuing to change the culture of government from one of entitlement to one of enterprise. These tough decisions will lay the groundwork for the prosperity of tomorrow. It puts to you, the General Assembly, the question of precisely what role state government and our taxpayers should have in a variety of endeavors. I look forward to working with all of you in framing these priorities into a solid, responsible spending plan. One of the major innovations I propose this year is the use of block grants. Block grants will be found in both our basic education and our welfare budgets. Together, these two departments account for more than 70% of our spending. When we include corrections and debt service, it's 90%. So with less to spend than we would like, we need to give more flexibility at the level where this money will be spent, the county and the school districts. So I'm bringing before you a new and innovative program to create a robust employment market and a vital economy. We call it Jobs First PA. It comprises 4 programs: Pennsylvania Inc., the comprehensive job matching system, Keystone Works, and the targeted industry certificate program. We will roll out full details very soon. Briefly, Pennsylvania Inc. provides a single point of access between job creators and state government to speed the time between the idea and a business. Keystone Works would allow unemployed workers to continue their benefits while being trained by companies with available jobs. The idea is to get the recently unemployed back to work as quickly as possible. The Targeted Industry Certificate Program provides increased grants for college and trade school students who are training for high-demand occupations. In short, we are targeting our workforce toward the jobs. The goal is simple. If there's a job to fill in a new or existing industry, we are determined to put that career opportunity into the hands of a Pennsylvanian. One of our core functions is to provide for education at several levels, starting with our youngest. We have less money than I would like, so we must adapt. Earlier, I mentioned our proposal to use block grants to give counties and school districts the flexibility to adjust to their own unique needs. That accounts for the transfer of 4 separate line items into a single block grant. Right now, education spending is bound up in a thicket of outdated and time-consuming regulations and mandates. The rationale here is clear. Local districts know how to spend and allocate resources better than do bureaucrats in Harrisburg. We leave the basic education funding formula at its current level. There are no cuts. In fact, you will find a slight increase, just as we did last year. Pennsylvania is, I said, still in difficult times. Its future will rely on that sense of purpose that Reagan and Roosevelt both embodied. Another Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, dedicated this building that we are in here a century ago. He is often quoted as saying, "I dream of men who take the next step instead of worrying about the next 1,000 steps." Here, today, is that first step. We need a budget that employs simple honesty for the common growth of our Commonwealth. We must continue the journey that will turn the road to recovery into the path to prosperity. Please, let's get started. Thank you all.